Guys, let's just start from a very interesting story from Young Discord. You want me to shut up? Okay, your loss. I'll shut up. TL. DR. Toxic kinda GF kept telling me how I hurt her with the things I say, implying I shouldn't say them. I cut all contact with her and stopped talking to her. Okay, so first off, this is sort of malicious compliance. Although she never directly told me not to talk to her, she did constantly complain that the things I said hurt her. Out of context, this makes me look like a bad guy, but I promise I will explain everything. Also, this can also be sort of considered as a revenge story if you really want to push it. Okay, so backstory. I am in my mid-20s, and until recently, I had never been in a relationship. Girls didn't really notice me. I'm a guy, in case anyone is wondering. And to be honest, I never really felt this urge to find someone right away. So this girl shows up in my life. Let's call her E for obvious reasons. Now for a good few years, me and E were just casual distant friends. I met her when she was one of my friend's girlfriend. The relationship did not last long. Not just to be clear, back then. And for a good while after their relationship ended, I was not interested in her in any way. I don't make advances on people who are in relationships, much less on my friends' partners. In fact, I don't even consider them as a potential love interest. Anyway, a few years pass, and somehow we end up catching up on FB. Somehow we manage to sort of hit it off. She is cute and seems interested in me, and I felt some sort of connection with her, so I figured maybe she might be the one. I was concerned that she was my friend's ex, and they did not end on good terms, so I didn't want to start anything with her officially until I knew for certain that she was going to be the one and that it was going to be serious. Boy, is I glad I was careful because I dodged a huge bullet. For like 3 months or so, we were in this weird state of being interested in each other, but for now, not committing to anything. During this time, she sucked me in, and by that, I mean sucked me in the way narcissistic, egocentric people do. And this girl's tactic was to play the victim. She would spend hours upon hours talking about this bad thing and that bad thing, and how her first BF, who she depicted as mistreating her in the same way she was mistreating me, traumatized her, how my friend traumatized her, etc. And this goes on for 3 months. I eventually start to notice a few things about her, and those are: 1. Whenever she would strike a conversation, the focus was on her. All of the time. Sometimes she pretended to ask me a question, but then brushed off the answer quickly and moved on to talking about her and her horrible things in life. 2. Naturally being interested in her, I wanted to know more about her, so I would ask stuff about her to get to know her better. But when I did, she put up a wall, stating that she is scared of being hurt again. So at some point, I just wouldn't ask those questions since she is unwilling to tell me anything deep or meaningful about her. I'm only complying with what she's telling me. If it bothers her, then I won't do it, right? 3. She would eventually complain to me and cry and make a scene because I didn't seem interested in her since I didn't ask questions about her to get to know her better. See the previous point for irony. And when I explained why, and that I saw that asking personal things bothered her, so I didn't want to hurt her or make her feel uneasy, she would just not have it and blame me for being insensitive, etc. Cue a 4-hour cry session where I try to calm her down. 4. Didn't ask anything about me, as if she weren't interested in me at all, but rather just wanted me to be someone who gave her constant attention. We are talking double-digit hours glued to the chat screen here, no joke. And if I mentioned it, I was the bad guy. Cue crying, playing the victim, etc. 5. Would ask me stuff, but then would berate me for giving my opinion or giving her advice on stuff. I guess she just wanted me to stay shut and just silently listen to her hours on end. 6. Whenever I tried helping her with her many issues by trying to lift her spirits or even just giving her advice, she would get defensive and then just say that I don't understand, completely dismissing the possibility that maybe the reason why I said the things I said was because I do understand, and that she is the one who doesn't understand. She was very closed-minded whilst berating me for being too closed-minded, which was funny because of my next point. 7. She would constantly tell me what I am doing wrong. I don't think I ever heard a single compliment come from her. I know she has a lot of issues, but so do I. As a result of my low self-esteem, I generally tend to try and think, what can I do better? Maybe I should improve on something and I'm just not seeing it yet. And they have a point, etc. So whenever she criticized me for something I did, I would genuinely reflect on said thing and try to adapt or change it. And I changed a lot of things to cater to her personal needs. After all, if you are in a relationship, you need to adapt to the other person a bit, right? Right? Of course, back then, I had little experience in relationships, so I didn't really know the right way to do things. I would constantly try new things that I never did that she liked to do. After all, we can't do just the things I like, and we need to meet halfway. Except that we only did things she liked but didn't do any things I liked that she never did or liked. As you can see, it all seems very clearly toxic, though from up close back int, he day when it happened it was harder to see. Hence why I dodged the bullet. She cost me a lot of time and drama, but eventually things ended. Her, of course, being the one who ended whatever it was that we had, because she was too scared of being hurt again. Great tactic, sweetie. Shoot yourself in the foot because you are afraid someone might shoot it instead. I cried pretty hard that day, but I am a proactive person and I know that crying won't get you anywhere in life. If you want things to be better, you need to actually do something. As much as it will break your heart to do it, you need to do stuff. Now let's roll back to the last week of our thing that we had. Now she criticized me for not talking to people enough and not keeping in touch with them. Some with the attitude that I have, as I mentioned earlier, in one of the points. I began to think and came to the conclusion that she is right. So I made an effort to talk to a few people on FB, with whom I stopped talking for years. I randomly picked a few people, one of them being a girl called Jay. Now, E was really draining me emotionally during the last week. Trust me, hours and hours on end of being the shoulder to cry on for a few months will drain you faster than a coffee enema. And I really needed someone to help me out emotionally. Enter Jay. We hit it off. She seemed like an awesome person. Funny thing is, we didn't talk for 8 years, so she was basically a new person. She was funny, she was witty, the works. She was the highlight of my day whenever I talked to her. I realized that I really liked her. But of course, I was not going to make any advancements on her, because I was already in this semi-committed thing with E. And as much as E seemed to be toxic, I felt it wouldn't be right if I wouldn't at least try to make things work with E first as a last try, until I end things with her, and decide to move on. I am a loyal and fair person. I do not cheat or even look for someone else whilst with someone else. Alas, the heavens must have heard me, because E decided to make things easy and end things herself. So now, let's resume me crying for about an hour. Didn't last long. The sadness was strong, but it ended rapidly, because I felt this coming for a while now, and Jay showed up too near the end. So me and E decide to end up as friends. Oh, you thought the story ends here? Much mistaken. Which we do. Now, here is what happened over the following week after the breakup. I honestly don't know what to call it. I instantly hit it off with Jay and comes out. She was also interested in me. Comes out that she was in a very hard spot in her life, just when I happened to contact her, and unknowingly, I happened to really help her emotionally in a way no one else could. So I tell E the news. After all, we are friends, and I want her to know that her friend, me, is doing fine, and not to feel about ending things. She would often say things like, I feel like a bad guy now, to play the victim for doing something shitty. Seeing how at the time she seemed to act just fine. No dramas, etc. She seemed to have gotten over me pretty quickly and doing well. I thought we could just have a friendly chat, but nope. Enter the drama lord, bursts into tears, making me into some sort of monster by rubbing it in, that I found someone else while she is getting over it, etc. She then threw a tantrum and didn't talk to me for a while. This goes on for about a week. I try to talk to her like a friend and just be normal about stuff. I even helped be a wingman for her to get the attention of this guy she was into, which not long after telling me about him, revealed to me that she was already into him while we were still in our relationship. Frankly, that is okay. I understand. I was in the same situation. So I understand. If she wasn't hitting on him, it's okay. The heart wants what the heart wants. I won't criticize her for it. She played fair and everything was okay. Or at least it would be if she wouldn't have been giving me for the same thing. Hypocrisy comes to mind. Anyway, I let it slide, whatever. She is my friend. I want her to be happy, so I help her out. Cue a week of her freaking out over every little thing this guy does or doesn't do, and I am the one listening to it all. And soon, I notice that I am back to square one, where I am constantly being sucked into her little world of drama and insecurities. This time, however, I tell her to stop because this time, I have someone else. And if E were my partner, then I would be willing to spend so much time on her. But now, she is just my friend. And I have priorities. She can't be in the center of my life anymore. Cue her flipping out on me. Because of course she would flip out on me, screaming, accusing me of hurting her. Why do I do this, etc., and that she won't ever talk to me again. 2 days later, she talks to me as if nothing had happened and proceeds to tell me what I did wrong. At this point, I am close to my limit. I am a patient person when it comes to people, but enough is enough. So, as a friend, I try to give her some advice about the way she behaves, of course, in a friendly, most PC way possible. Of course, E takes it as an attack on her and proceeds to do her famous victim squeal, making me into Satan incarnate for daring, for criticizing her, because she is just too scared to address and deal with her issues and insecurities. Oh, hell no. That was the final straw. I tried everything, from listening to giving advice, even a bit of tough love on one occasion and nothing, and she was like a brick wall, expecting help but not willing to actually do anything. So I unleashed the truck of truth on her, and I did not. Hold back. I tell her how essentially that she can blame it on someone else, only so many times until she has to admit that maybe she is the reason why things mess up in her life. I told her how she was in, 3 relationships? Yeah, I know I counted us as one of them. And in each and every single one, she was the victim. Yeah, no, once, it happens. Twice. Okay, unusual coincidence, but by the third time, she should be noticing that there is a pattern. And I basically told her that if she doesn't stop acting the way she does, she will never be in a relationship. That she will fail the relationship with the guy she currently likes, just like she failed the relationship with Guy A, my friend, and me. I then proceeded to tell her that I know what she will do now that she will cry, play the victim, throw a tantrum, and not talk to me for a few days, and that she can do that all she wants, but it won't change or fix anything until she actually starts addressing her own fears, issues, and insecurities. The last thing I wrote to her was that since I am such a bad guy and hurt her so much because I keep saying the wrong stuff, then I will just make things easy, do what she wants me to do, shut up and just not talk to her. Told her not to bother replying to what I said because I am not going to read or reply to it since I know what it was going to be. Cue her doing exactly what I said she would do. When she realized that I didn't reply to her first comment, she of course sent another one, but again, I just didn't bother. Some of you may think, how is this malicious compliance exactly? Well, she kept saying that I say things I shouldn't say, etc., so I just complied and stopped talking to her altogether. In fact, I cut all contact with her. Why would this hurt her? Well, because she is the sort of person that needs to latch onto others to keep her drama going. If there is nobody left to blame, or nobody to listen to her drama, she has to admit that she needs to do something about her life, and of course, she is too scared to do that, so she prefers to leech onto others who pat her on her head and say, there, it's all good. And now she has one less person to latch onto. As much as it might have hurt her, I did this in good faith. She needs to reach rock bottom until she finally realizes these things and gets her together. I only helped that happen. As for me, I got together with Jay, moved in with her, got a job, a house, and we have been together for almost a year now, and things are only getting better and better. Comes out that the person you think is the right one isn't always the one who is actually the right person for you. So for that, I am thankful to E for showing me the exact kind of person I was supposed to look for, who I surprisingly found right after her. And this is where the revenge part comes in. If she stalks my FB page or asks our common friends how I am doing, I am doing very well. And funnily enough, at the time when me and E met, we, whether in very similar circumstances, same issues and insecurities, etc., so maybe if she sees me get my life together, she might realize that I was onto something. When I told her those things, because I did those things and it really helped me in life. E, I hope you got your shit together. I mean it. Procurement wants to play dumb? Sure thing. Indeed, OP's decision was the best. E expected endless emotional support while offering none, then demanded exclusivity while moving on herself. By cutting her off entirely and refusing to entertain her drama, I delivered the perfect, karma-filled consequence. Her own tactics turned against her. The next story from Bloopyhead. TL. DR. After we started work on a contract for an urgent and very delivery date sensitive project, a procurement exec fooled us into getting started before contract signature and then used all sorts of excuses and played dumb as much as realistically possible to delay execution of the contract in order to irritate us and get us to abandon our principles out of sheer frustration. When we realized these tactics, we used the same tactics and turned them against him. We won. I wish I had a juicier outcome than just, we won. But I got a pretty good business and life lesson out of it. 15 years ago, my company developed a unique software for a big company. It's basically a software that manages the workforce. For that initial work years ago, they didn't want to pay the whole upfront cost to write the software, so they agreed to a reduced price, but with a never-ending annual license, which included support and maintenance. The product had been stable, so we mostly collected the annual license fee and did some basic support here and there, and added incremental features for a fee, so we recouped our fees and got a better long-term outcome this way. A couple of years ago, they changed their procurement and payment systems, and we had several invoices go unpaid. Some ended up being 36 months late. Not because of any technical reasons, but because of ineptitude. The monthly email reminders were ignored, and because the threads that lasted from 1 month to the next and from manager to manager were just insane with hundreds of replies and up to 50 people CC'd at one point, going over the same topics over and over again constantly, with them asking for proof of the work performed, for proof of the work request, proof of managerial approval for the work request, for copies of the invoices that we sent that were already there 4 times an email thread, and so on. Right when we thought we would wrap up the thread, someone would say, "Wait, what are we talking about again?" And the whole thread would just go for another iteration of the craziness. It was a total nightmare, enough to make anyone lose their marbles. We eventually got paid. But goddamn. About 5 years ago, they called us up and said, "We're bringing in new back-end systems at our production facility, so you have to do a major update to your software so that it can talk to our new systems. The new systems will be online January 1st, so it's critical that no matter what your system must be ready by then." So we quickly agree on a price for the updates. We're told the contract will follow the following week. They assign a project manager, / coordinator, and we start working right away because we need every minute if we're to make that deadline. Except the contract doesn't come. Instead, we're put in touch with the procurement guy to finalize the details. Let's call this guy Ashish. Ashish was also on the previous email threads and not exactly on the ball then. A warning sign. Time. Tick-tock. First, Ashish proceeds to ask me for a copy of the old master contract. Then he tells me that he doesn't understand it and that we'll need a new master contract in the future. Then he says he doesn't understand what the software does, and as far as he's concerned, it's just a nice to have for the company. Then he says it should be free of charge, since it's included in the maintenance and support, but no, the changes they want are 10 plus years out, and out of scope from the original requirements. Of course, we're polite as we answer, but there's something about the way he writes and asks for stuff that makes us believe he's either just dumb or severely overloaded and/or out of touch. And/or our small contract is just a pebble in his shoe and just loses focus. But still, he nitpicks about details of the agreement, about things that make no sense and that clearly shows he's totally unaware of the context. Since he's my single point of contact to get the paperwork done, I'm starting to lose patience. Time, tick-tock. We exchange several drafts, all of which contain more of his impossibly stupid requests and details that are completely unrelated to the task at hand. I mean, who the hell is this guy? I waste a ton of hours, days actually, explaining what the project is about, why XYZ is necessary, and why ABC clause doesn't apply. Once we eventually agree on a final, good enough draft ready for me to sign, it doesn't come. Time. Tick-tock. He calls me one day and says he wants to redo the whole thing because he thinks it's not properly framed and wants me to make him an entirely new proposal, and we have to get a new master agreement anyway. Me make a new proposal? For what? We had just agreed to the price and wording for what the new update does. He then proceeds to tell me that as far as he's concerned, it should even be free, so the new contract should take that into account. I explained to him that it's definitely not a nice to have, and that it won't be free, and that if we don't get this done, production will grind to a halt due to the particular problem that our software solves. So I refuse, telling him we're already well underway with the work. He says fine, and says that he'll send the last draft ASAP. Time. Tick-tock. A few more weeks go by, and almost every day I email to get status. Nothing. I eventually get a note from him asking if my new proposal is ready for him to review. Oh, FFS. I get on the phone with him. We start afresh with a new round of him not understanding anything about the work and the contract, him discussing issues that are irrelevant, wanting guarantees that make no sense, and a nonsensical wording of the work involved. Oh, and BTW, he now wants to know our cost basis for doing the work because it's too expensive, and we'll have to review the price down. Yet again, during all this time, he seems genuinely confused or unaware of context or the pressures the company is under with this. And more, I'm flabbergasted as to why this is the guy in charge of negotiating our contract. As much as I explain again and again, nothing seems to register, or if it does, we're back to square one the following day. I'm going completely insane dealing with this. One day, over beer, I explain the situation to one of my buddies and he laughs. Damn, this guy is really having fun. Acting dumb like this is one of the many tactics that procurement people will use to erode all of your patience in the hope that you'll eventually just throw up your hands up in the air and say, fine, and sign whatever. Either just out of sheer frustration or because the alternative is just no contract, no payment for all of the work you've already put in. Trust me, this guy knows what he's doing. The proper counter-response to this? Just play dumb too. But he knows you by now, so pretending to be dumb will be seen as acting in bad faith. So simply withdraw from the negotiations and put him in front of a totally new guy, and have that new guy be as clueless as possible and have as little authority as possible in the negotiations, unable to approve any decision, and make him get back to him with unrelated questions and just enough nonsense. Next, tell the procurement guy you're going on vacation and that your team has stopped the work until a contract is signed. Maybe he's really dumb, but I doubt it. I think he'll wise up real fast. Brilliant. I get back home from the pub and I check Ashish's LinkedIn profile. Senior VP Procurement. Education, Harvard Business School. Right, this guy's not an idiot. He was fucking with me the whole time. Next morning, I talk to my management team and explain the situation. They all get a laugh and are willing to participate in the theatrics. I write Ashish an email saying that I am putting him in touch with Arnold, CC'd, that I was taking vacation and an extra 3-month sabbatical, and that we will resume the work once the agreement is signed. It worked perfectly. The ignorance my co-worker played was brilliant, completely believable. Ashish became increasingly restless in his emails, and suddenly transformed from being the clueless guy to the sharp exec he actually was, as he realized he might be the cause for the project to fail and to not be delivered in time. In the end, we signed the document a few weeks after Arnold took over. We didn't give an inch. We delivered on time. The lower managers at Big Company were relieved. They too were completely flabbergasted with the stupid email chains, but they were powerless to intervene. The revenge was flawless, and it was executed perfectly. By flipping the script and making Ashish taste his own medicine, the OP turned a frustrating situation into a masterclass in negotiation. The plan was executed brilliantly, exposing Ashish's tactics and forcing him to concede completely.